Hello and welcome to episode 85 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. Big pod this week. It's not that big. We're just on a good run of form, and it's brilliant, isn't it? Spring in the step. There's a certain freshness in the air. I'm smiling at people in the street. I'm saying hello, saying wow, I love your coat. Wow, have you seen what my team's been doing? They've been winning every week. Saying that to all the people, and they're saying back to me. They're saying, I don't know who you are. What is Aldershot? I don't know where it is. I'm saying Charlie Warren, Charlie Warren, and they keep saying I don't know. I don't know the directions to Warren Street. Such things like that. That's a bit of London chat for you. Tonight on the podcast, we discuss, of course, the last three results where we've had the madness of Halifax, the weirdness of Tamworth, two very strange goals there, and then most recently Yeovil away, where we've come away with a 2-1 win, as if that's just something that a normal National League team does. Just goes to Yeovil, picks up 3 points, comes home again. So yeah, it's myself, CJ, and Guy on the main pod, and coming straight after this intro is thoughts from Ian and Julian. Ian was there last night in the stands, and Julian was there last night on co-coms. You may have heard him. So enjoy those two, and then we'll join up afterwards to discuss all that and more. Enjoy the episode, and as always, up the shots.
Hi Will, last two shots games I've attended are Halifax at home and Yeovil away. Both really good reminders of why I go to football and support the Shots. Different performances in each, but the same end result, 3 points and a feeling of looking up the table rather than down. The start of Coleman's reign and the 9 defeats in a row coincided with a lengthy stay in hospital for me, and the outlook for us both was grim. Since my release from hospital at the start of December, it's 10 league games with 7 wins and 2 draws, with only the horror show against Solihull being a mere blip now. Halifax at home, we found ourselves 2-0 down on 56 minutes. What came next was as wonderful as anything I've seen at the EBB. Comebacks under Widrington were not uncommon, but the 5-minute blitz with a brace from Charlie Warren, either side of a Will Nightingale scrambled finish, will be one to remember for many years. A credible point earned late at Tamworth, we moved on to Yeovil, where the shots were fantastic right from the start. A shot testing the Yeovil keeper in the first minute was a taste of what was to come. I had a superb view being right behind Ollie Scott's shot to make it 1-0, and all of the play seemed to be in the final third for the Shots at the other end of the ground from where the visiting faithful was housed. It was therefore a surprise that the first and only real Aldershot error was capitalised by Yeovil for an undeserved equaliser on 26 minutes. Aldershot continued to press, and in the second half it did feel like it was a matter of time before we regained the lead. Sustained pressure with the Yeovil keeper putting up a great performance kept it at 1-1. Eventually, Reading Loney Patton got himself a brave header that just made its way in. Apart from Yeovil kitchen sinking it in injury time and the scoreline being just 2-1, this is a near perfect performance from the Shots, and Yeovil have the keeper to thank for it being just a 1-goal difference on the final scoreline. It's a big week ahead now, with Scunthorpe coming to Aldershot on Saturday, and there's a big trip to Essex against Braintree, where a win would be very welcome, before Rochdale arrive in town for the last day of Feb. Cheers.
Hi, Will, Julian here. Just coming back to you with some thoughts of last night's game at Yeovil, followed up with some thoughts on the Tamworth game, and indeed over the last sort of few weeks. I think one word sums it up, and it's astonishment, really, where we've come from to where we are now. Beginning of December, we'd got 13 points from 21 games. We'd scraped together 3 wins. You could argue that 2 of those wins were fortunate. Couldn't buy a win from anywhere. John Coleman gave us some confidence, though. Those games against those tough teams, that really tough run was he was saying that we're playing well and we're just losing by the odd goal. Fast forward to now, after an incredible win at Yeovil last night, which I was very fortunate enough to be able to commentate on. An incredible performance, absolutely incredible. Best away performance I've seen in such a long time. Fully deserved the win. Every single player was an 8 out of 10. Some standout performances too. I thought Ollie Scott was absolutely outstanding. And since he's come back in, he came back in for that Eastleigh performance where we won 4-1 a little over a month ago. He didn't need building up. He didn't need 45 minutes here, 60 minutes there, 75 minutes. He's been absolutely sensational. And there have been his doubters. Many people were talking about Ollie Scott's position in the side was as one of Tommy's mates, if you like. And I was doubting him too, but for me, he has been sensational at left back. And if you've watched the highlights, that crunching tackle that he made, which actually set up a chance for Sean to have a shot and hit the post. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And every single player played their part last night in that 2-1 victory. I was talking to the Yeovil commentators after the game, and Josh Staunton was co-commentating. Josh, I don't know if you remember, but Josh is an ex-Woking player, ex-Yeovil player. And we were talking after the game, and he said he's never seen a first 15 minutes of complete and total domination like that in his life. He was absolutely shell-shocked by it and was so complimentary of the players. He absolutely loved Meerholz in the centre of midfield. He described him as a Rolls Royce, always looking forward, able to receive the ball on the half turn. And that was something interesting he pointed out to me, actually, is that the better players can receive the ball on the half turn. They're looking forward, they're looking up to see their options before the ball's even at their feet. And that buys them time. And that's why he was saying that Meerholz looks as if he's always got time, because he's able to receive the ball on a half turn and he's actually assessing what's going on before he's even received the ball. So it's really good to hear a pro talking about what was actually going on, rather than just listening to me rabbit on for 90 minutes. But yeah, what a performance. I thought everyone played their part, and actually got me thinking about what's going to happen for next season as well. Because if you look at the players that we are permanently signed by us at the moment, players that are loaned in, the vast majority of the players are in fact part of our squad, and we've got options on. Boyce Clark in goal, we've got an option on him. Hopefully Meerholz would sign on again after the summer if he continues to play the way he is. You've got, obviously on loan, you've got Charlie Warren and Inwood, who both have been really instrumental in changing our fortunes around. And our recent run of 7 wins and 2 draws in the last 10 games reminds me of the run we had at a similar stage last season, actually, where we were, I think, on about 30 points after 30 games. And then we went on a run of, again, 7 or 8 wins out of 10, which effectively sealed our season. And then we did sort of back off a bit for the last 5 or 6 games in preparation for the trophy. But very similar to last year. I think some key things for me, we need to keep Will Nightingale fit. And if that means leaving him out for a game every now and again, then so be it. James Henry, great to see James Henry get more than 60 minutes, and that's only going to help with his fitness too. And Charlie Warren, if we can get him to continue to do what he's doing on the pitch, then I think he's done something like six goals in 7 games. That is only going to bode well. So it's currently sitting in 14th after this only 1 defeat in 10. There is Obviously, some tricky games coming up, but yeah, they're going to be looking at us. They're going to be looking at us at the top of the form table and trying to work out how to combat it. Yeovil couldn't do it, and their manager again was very complimentary in the post-match comments about how we played. He actually likened us to Anderlecht, which I thought was really good. Mentioned our fluidity as well. Difficult to plan against a team like Aldershot, he said, which is really, really encouraging to hear. So, all in all, some great performances over the last few weeks. Tough run coming up. We're on 36 points in 14th place. And actually, there's an opportunity to go above Woking at the weekend if we can beat Scunthorpe and they lose at Rochdale, which, again, 2 months ago would have been unthinkable. Up the shots.
So the shots are, as we speak, up into 14th position, the heady heights of, we moved up 5 places just last night as we record, from 19th into 14th after beating Yeovil, a 2-1 win. The scoreline a little bit closer than the actual performance showed. And since the last time we recorded, we had Tamworth away, a 1-1 draw, and Halifax before that. Quite a remarkable game for Ian to come back on. You just heard him talking about that. It was also my return to the rec after a while out, and yeah, well, what a whirlwind 5 minutes. I'm sure we'll try and discuss little parts and pieces of those as we talk about Shot's recent results. So yeah, in the middle of those two was the Tamworth 1-1 draw. Keane Anderson's red card levelling things up as Dan Creaney got sent off in the first half. And yeah, so I guess we'll start there. We've got CJ and Guy on the call tonight. And I guess in general we better talk Shot's recent results. The last 10 games, 7 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat in the league. Absolutely, well, it's championship winning form. We're just second behind York, who obviously, I mean, are probably way out ahead, and will be for the rest of the season, I imagine. They're slowly catching up on Rochdale in second position. But yeah, Guy, I'll come to you first. Championship winning form, but how have you seen Shot's recent results?
It's been pretty entertaining and enjoyable, isn't it? Just before we came on, we talked about how nice it was when we were talking about having to recap the fact that there's been three quite entertaining games. And of course, started off with Halifax, which we had to go back to, in preparation for this podcast. And coming out 3-2 winners, which is quite an upturn, turn up for the books, given that we've had 4 3-2s, I think. Always being on the wrong side of them. So it's nice to actually come out with a win. And not only that, scoring 3 goals in effectively 9 minutes, or within 9 minutes of going 2-0 down. I mean, you could see after the second goal when we were suddenly gone from 2-0 to 2-2 within sort of 5 minutes. You could see Halifax just look shell shocked, and there was real kind of a momentum going with us at that time. And I mean, actually looking at what I really want to sort of draw out really is a little bit more about on the goals themselves. So I went revisited the 10 goals that we've scored and conceded over those 3 games. And what's striking to me is that, of the 6 that we've scored, 3 of them have come from set pieces. So it's been corners, it's been free kicks. Two of those goals against Halifax were from well worked free kicks. But of course, that does raise the question as to how much is coming from open play. 3 goals from open play. It has been good to see that often those goals are coming from sort of build up beforehand. What's quite striking is often it seems to sort of come down the left-hand side of the pitch, inward passing to Hill passing onwards onto Gandor, and then across inside. So that seems to be sort of the way we're playing, sort of out wide and then in. Maybe what's also quite encouraging, I noticed as well, is that I think it was in the game against Yeovil that there were sort of 2, when the cross came in, you really had 2 options there, both Platten as well as Warren. That was also evident in against Tamworth as well. So what's really quite promising is we are getting bodies into the box, and that's actually paying off for us as well. If you look at the goal, the goal that came against both sort of the end of the Tamworth game. That was very much us pushing up, putting pressure in the penalty area. And when the ball came out, Nightingale was effectively left free because the guy marking him had gone into defend, and so the ball came out to him. So that really shows that it's important to be pushing at the whole time. I think that also says something about the nature of how we're playing as well, is that from the off, it's very striking that from the first minute, we're on the front foot, we're pressing, we're pushing. And when we're losing the ball, we're trying to to press back or win it back immediately up on high up in the pitch. And that does sort of yield us results. That said, looking at the goals that have gone against us, I think often they've been quality goals. I don't think that's a wrong that's that I'm trying to sort of skirt the situation for Aldershot. I think they've been very well. If you look at the goal that was scored against us at Yeovil, which I felt was very much against the run of play, it was a quality strike. Their only attempt, at that point in the game. So I mean, they are tracking. Aldershot is tracking back. The players are getting back. It just seems to fall right for the players. Although maybe it's because we're losing it, sort of further up the pitch. So these things are going to happen. But broadly, we are doing pretty well. That said, you also asked me how do I sort of feel about sort of the broader picture. I mean, yes, it's great. We're sort of we're doing really well in terms of sort of the number of wins we've had. Very few losses. Very few heavy defeats, particularly after the Solihull 5-1 game that was back in January. But we are still conceding, and looking at the figures, we're still conceding around 2 goals a game. We are vulnerable to quick transitions. So although we have stabilised somewhat since Tommy Widrington left in mid-October, we're still, we're not really in a dominant enough position yet. We're scoring quite a bit, but we're still conceding quite a bit. The numbers for both are down a little bit on Widrington, but we do still need to close up at the back a bit. That said, I'm really happy with the defense, with the defensive, partnership that we have of Nightingale and Inwood, also sometimes coupled up with Grogan. So it's looking pretty good, but still more work to be done.
Absolutely, yeah. So plenty of stuff to touch on there. Yeah, attacking down the left, obviously Ollie Scott's return and immediate ability to play 90 minutes after his layoff is continues to astound me. I wrote down for the Halifax game, Ollie Scott head bandage. He was unbelievable against Halifax. Super performance. He put everything on the line, and then last night, obviously, you see his tackle. I think it was against Ryan Jones. I can quite see from the other side. In commentary, I thought it was like Ryan Jones' first touch, which I thought was even better. He's come straight off the bench and then gets absolutely lasered by Ollie Scott. Gets all of the ball. The entire main stand at Yeovil just kind of a big intake of ooh, and he gets kind of almost turned 365 degrees. Interesting, 360 degrees. Yes, and I guess just to touch as well on what it was like in the East Bank for the Halifax turnaround. I couldn't feel my legs after the second one. Not sure how I was able to jump on the third one. I've never I've never seen a turnaround like it. As you said, 9 minutes from them scoring to us being 3-2 ahead, and Halifax will, I mean, as their manager can attest. I mean, he won't know how they've lost that game. There is almost no way that a team that plays quite that well away from home and looks so comfortable, creates about 6 or 7 very good chances, doesn't doesn't win a game, and yet something that day, something was in the air because we managed to, in a bizarre 5 minutes, score 3 goals. Um, and how they didn't how they didn't score a couple of those chances in the second half, I'll never know. But it just seemed like fate was in our pathway, and it happened. The Halifax 98th minute Tolaj winner. That was another game. They came here and played very well against us, and there's no way they should have come away with 0 points, and it's happened again. So yeah, that was an absolutely incredible moment to be standing in the East Bank, and yeah, I had to leave early, which I very rarely do. But I needed to get to Norwich in time for a birthday party, so I had to leave at 4:55 on the dot to get the 5:04 train from Aldershot. So I ran down to the high street end, got down to there, and then the brawl started. So I was like, well, I'm not going to see the end of it now. So I left with 5 minutes. Well, what was it? 4:59. I left, and then I got about just near the station, and then I heard the roar of that's 3 points. So that was great. And then when I was on the platform, I could hear the East Bank from there. It just felt. I mean, I don't like leaving games at all early, but what a moment to be there watching it. CJ, I'll come to you and try and kind of summarize your thoughts on those recent performances that we've seen.
Yeah, it's obviously a much better situation than where we were 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Like, I think the one thing that's sort of a concern a little bit is if you look at the last 7 games, we've had 3 red cards. So that to me is a worrying sign, but it's also almost a positive in the sense that we're playing with more hunger. There's aggression to the side now. We're on the front foot, like Guy said. We're pressing. We've got that counter press sorted where we're winning the ball back quickly after losing it. And like you look at the Yeovil game because obviously it's the one that's just happened, and within 8 seconds, James Henry's had a half volley that's just hit the top of the net. So straight away we set the precedent quite quickly in games now that we're going to be on the front foot. We're more worried about us and not worried about the opposition as much. And it seems like we're taking the game to the opposition. It was interesting to hear Billy Rowley's comments as well. As like he literally just said we beat them up, like from start to finish, and he compared us to Anderlecht, which I thought was the wildest statement I've ever heard. Um, and then obviously listening to Rob Worrell's interview with Sean Patton afterwards and stuff like that, and Sean Patton was saying like they were asking him where does this energy come from to keep going for 90 minutes, because at the moment we seem to be like 100 miles an hour for the whole game, with very little breaks, and then the little breaks that we do have is kind of the moments that the opposition get back in the game. You look at obviously Yeovil's goal. Obviously, Guy said it was a great finish. To be fair, I don't think Boyce Clark could do much about it. We could have probably been tighter around the edge of the box, but again, like little moments like that, it's step one football at the end of the day. So they're not world beaters. That those things are going to happen. So I overall it's very positive. We look more balanced. Nightingale obviously being a consistent feature has been a massive bonus. I think you look at obviously Yeovil, we're missing Theo, we're missing Barrett. Um, who else were we missing? Warren. So you look at it and go, we're still winning games with 3 key players missing. You look at Tamworth, and obviously we didn't lose. We had Theo, Nightingale, Barrett obviously missing as well. So we're finding ways to win or get points now without key players, which I think is always a massive positive, and it looks good on the squad. And I think one big notice as well, and it was mentioned in our chat, that Hadi Gandor, someone I've been quite critical of, is we're starting to see him flourish a little bit on that inside forward position, that inside left wing, wherever he's sort of playing. It's kind of that, yeah, it's like an inside forward, that Marcus Rashford type role where he's cutting in and 1v1 in fullbacks and stuff like that. And he looks really positive at the moment. Obviously, he had a key influence the other week where he obviously had 2 or 3 assists. Um, so yeah, I think it's really positive. Obviously, the Halifax game was crazy in terms of the fact that we scored 3 goals in 5 minutes. Charlie Warren's absolutely on fire at the moment. He's finding the goal wherever he can. And obviously Sean Patton, that finish against Yeovil was ridiculous. The turn and shimmy to hit the bar and then just throw his head in where it hurts, just to make that 3 points count. Like they just seem to be playing for John Coleman at the minute. They seem to be playing for each other. And the desire to just win the game at the moment just seems to be there. And we spoke about it before Christmas, as momentum is such a powerful thing in football, and you either have it or you don't. And obviously, we had that run of games where we had 8 games without a win, or even like any sort of points. And now all of a sudden, it's gone the other reverse fixture, and we're going into a run of games now where we're playing that top half of the table, and we could almost dictate who sort of wins the league and finishes in the top 2 or 3, because we're playing them all. So there's a real opportunity here for us to have a real big influence, A, on our season, but B, on the title favourites as well.
Lovely stuff. Yeah. So I did put down this kind of question on the email when I sent it out. Is what is the big influence on this turnaround? I mean, I think the real answer is obviously a combination of all of these different things. Coleman finally getting his feet under the table, and Guy has a hand up. Here we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, for those of us who do have DAZN, and there's been the documentary, or sort of like the short 15-minute documentary that they did with John Coleman. And what was really interesting was to listen to him talking about, look, he said you can't control, the results. You can't do that. But what you can control is your effort. You can control, trying to run for and get the ball and keep the ball and pass the ball. Those kind of metrics you can focus on. And if you've got that, then what follows is, the possibility of opening up opportunities and chances. So that's what I think's happening there. The only thing I would say is that we do seem to be keeping the ball a lot. We're holding on to the ball, we're passing it around, we're harrying back when we're losing it, but we haven't really made a lot of clear-cut chances. I mean, certainly it was striking to me that when we played Yeovil, I mean, from the off, I think within the first 5, 6 seconds, there was a fantastic Henry volley. But then it's sort of we didn't really do very much in terms of sort of actual slice through. When we do it, it tends to be sort of a very quick transition, a quick ball forwards, across through two players and then cross in. When we're sort of trying to build up slowly and steadily, I think it does become we do get sort of bogged down a little bit. And I think, and we'll come to talking about this in sort of the upcoming games, because I think a few of the teams that we're going to be playing do pack out their midfields. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge for us if we're trying to work our way through, either walk our way or pass our way through those players.
Yeah, maybe it would add that. I suppose a lot of teams, especially a Yeovil last night, for example. I mean, after that first 20 minutes, they are going to naturally have to sit back because they're under sustained pressure from us, kind of going forward. I think on the commentary they mentioned on the Yeovil side, they mentioned I think it was the Cocoms. He just said, well, they just keep attacking. They keep trying to go forward, no matter if it's ugly. They just keep trying to move the ball forwards. And I was like, that must be like so tiring for an opposition to constantly be like, oh God, they just won't go back. They were then resisting going back. They're always trying to look for that positive option. And I guess we've been kind of used to Widrington's side always looking that was always take the positive action first. And now we're seeing it, I guess, in a more controlled way. Um, and yeah, I mean, I would say we had plenty of chances last night to win by comfortably more than the one goal that we ended up winning. And not for, I mean, Jed Ward, he makes three very good saves. The one for the own goal that nearly flicks over his head. I have no idea how he gets there. That is brilliant. And do you know what? I said out loud, I was eating my dinner when I saw that because I saw it for the first time. I heard it on the comms. I said, "What a save that is!" in that kind of intonation. The co-coms said, "What a save that is," and then and then the main com said, "What a save that is." Three of us within 2 seconds said the exact same words, and I think that only a kind of tipping it from an own goal can give that reaction of what a save that is from all around. Anyway, I got a bit sidetracked there. CJ, I'll come to you. I guess your idea of what the biggest influence has been. I was going to kind of say it. I think it's been obviously Coleman getting his feet under the table, settling that formation. Obviously, personnel has helped, but as you mentioned, personnel has been changing each week. We've got red cards, we've got injuries, and players unavailable each week. What do you put it down to?
Yeah, I think it's an accumulation of everything. Obviously Coleman's settled in now. We got that run of 8 games out of the way. Obviously we got a new owner, so there's a bit more stability around the club. I think like from a perspective, obviously as much as I love Tommy football and I love Tommy Widgington, it's not that 100 miles an hour we live and die by the sword moment anymore. We're playing progressive football, but we're playing with a balance. Obviously, Will Nightingale, I keep banging on about him, but he is unbelievable. Like you watch him, like you look at the first goal we scored yesterday, and he's stepping up the pitch and driving the ball forwards, playing it out wide to cut the ball, and then obviously Ollie Scott runs onto it. But it's just having that steady head and that those calm influences throughout the team who have that little bit of quality. And like you look at it and you go, when Theo was playing, you had Nightingale, Theo, and Barrett as your like spine of the team, and all of a sudden that's your three leaders, and that I think that's the big influence. And obviously, it's easy to say Coleman's brought in his own players, but Ollie Scott was a Widrington signing, Nightingale was a Widrington signing, Barrett's a Widrington signing, Mearholes is a Widrington signing initially. So it's no real different in terms of influence. It's just obviously in key areas, your inwards, your Grogans have come in and fitted in and gelled well. And it was interesting to see that people obviously saying that Coleman hasn't had a bad signing yet. But I'm also seeing that when Ollie Scott was injured, Ollie Scott was a terrible signing. Now he's the best fullback in the league. So it's that finding that balance at the moment. And we could all it's easy to say formations and this, that, and the other, but like playing three at the back it doesn't make a difference whether you got 3, 4, 6, 10. It just depends on how you want to play and different systems and the personnel in it. And obviously it helps with balance, but if you told me that Ryan Hill was coming in, the attacking midfielder who scored however many goals for Dagenham last season, was going to come in and play right back and probably and take over that position, I would have laughed at you. And he's been absolutely fantastic. Do you know what I mean? So like we got attacking fullbacks with real quality and class. Obviously, don't get me wrong, Hill's probably we get exposed quite a bit. Obviously, the goal yesterday came from cutting inside on him, but for the most part, when we're moving the ball with and keeping possession, like I think that's the big balance. Obviously, Widrington was 100 miles an hour. Everything play forwards, attack, 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 and then we had so many players running forwards that by the time the other team got it, there was about 2 players back, and then all of a sudden it's batten down the hatches because it's the other team are going to counter. So it's that balance. Obviously, Coleman's had a key influence now. He has brought his own players in. They've come in, they've gelled, and they've all bought into what he wants to do. And and he's obviously cleared out a lot of the players as well. So you think like it doesn't help having 30 plus players in a squad in the National League or in any league because you've got to manage all those players. And then you look at it and you go, Ollie Scott's come back now, Jenkins has come back now, Shackelford's come back. So guys with long term injuries are starting to come in. Boyce Clark's been a bit of a revelation. He looked a bit ropey in that first game, but ever since then, his distribution's been fantastic. I think there was one moment against Yeovil, he's under pressure and he's sprayed a diag out to the I think it was Ryan Hill, and even their fullback went wow. Not some fullback, their commentator went wow, like that's a great pass sort of thing. So like the fact that other commentators are complimenting us in the National League is crazy because predominant time they're supporters of that club. So it's rare that you get that sort of compliment. So yeah, I think it's the balance. We've got a forward line that are sort of in form at the moment. So obviously Patton scoring, Warren scoring, so that helps massively because if you're not conceding goals or if you are conceding goals, you want the top end of the pitch to be scoring because obviously that's how you win football matches. So like Guy said, we're still conceding goals. It's going to happen. You look at the league and you look at the league below, and the average games are probably over 1.5, 2.5 goals if you're a betting person. So it's the likelihood is we're always going to concede because it's the level we're at. It's just obviously making sure you outscore the opposition and keep it as tight as you can.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, I was going to mention, yeah, in that you did mention him in the end, but yeah, Ryan Hill, I was just going to say, I mean, he's had a brilliant season. I think he's obviously been playing slightly out of position. He's been moved this way and that. Under Widrington, he was always the most consistent performer, 7 out of 10 every week. And always that stood out when we were in that, a bad run, and especially in the big losing streak that we had. We always had someone that was going to put in 100% effort, try their best, look quite good going forward. And I think when we mentioned, during that run, that only him and Ryan Jones could create anything for Aldershot. And now he's in a buoyant Coleman side that's now on a good run of form. He's still hitting those 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s. It's just now he's potentially being slightly outshone by your Ollie Scotts that are coming back in and having, well, like game-changing games. He's the one scoring last night, for example. So I think, yeah, it's just I think an important note to keep an eye out for Ryan Hill, who I think has been so far our player of the season, or my player of the season. You can make your own minds up at home. I guess we've got time for the upcoming fixtures again next week. We've got I nearly swore then. That's probably the first time. We've got another Wednesday game. It's Braintree away on Wednesday. A huge game, really. That's that they are occupying that final relegation place, which we are now 6 points away from as it stands. But to sandwich that Braintree game, we've got two home games against promotion chasing teams. So Scunthorpe first up on Saturday, most recently beaten 6-3 at home to Boston in the Lincolnshire derby. I'm not sure if they class it as a derby. They're both from Lincolnshire. And then we've got the current team at the top of the table, Rochdale, who are, I think, 1 point ahead of York with a game in hand. But yes, York closing in, and isn't it insane how many goals York have scored? I can't quite. I know it's not as many as Notts Counties and Wrexham's of previous years, but it's bonkers. They've scored like 25 more than anyone else, and we're not even. That will increase as we go on. So going to come to you, Guy. Your thoughts on this next little tricky patch before another bigger tricky patch of games against teams in the top half.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say of those three, I think, that Braintree game is probably the one that we probably have the best chance. I mean, we are on a good run of form, obviously, we've talked about that, but we are up against, two top table sides. And so that's really going to be a test for us. And but then of course we have to accept that. I mean, the thing is, when looking at the Scunthorpe game, which is the game first up, I mean, they are very efficient when it comes to their attacks. They have a tendency to score first, and if that happens, then it's going to be, I think, a bit hard for us. So, in that sense, the sort of the approach that we've been taking in the last few games, where we are just on the front foot from the first minute, that is going to make a huge difference if we can keep that up against Scunthorpe and avoid an early goal against us. If we can do that, snatch our goal ourselves, then I think it could be different. When it comes to Braintree, they've scored very few, but they are. It's very likely as well, though, that it could be quite a low-scoring game. So we're going to have to be quite patient because I think they do have, pack the midfield, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, and I suspect they will probably be set up for defence against us. So, we may well be having a lot of possession of the ball, but finding it difficult to find our way through that. And I think that's something that's when we go into the Rochdale game, and they're a quite interesting side because they've conceded very few, 22 goals in 32 games. So it's going to be really difficult for us to get a goal against them. They seem to have quite a settled squad. They tend to play the same sort of formation very often. Interestingly enough, they don't seem to dominate in terms of ball possession, but they do seem to control the game. So this is one of those games where we may play the game the style that we've been playing recently, which is to have a lot of the ball, but find it very difficult again to break through. So I think that's going to be the big challenge for us. I think over the next few games, trying to make sure that we, turn the possession into, clear-cut chances. I mean, if we just go back to the Yeovil game, for example, I mean, it was striking how in terms of, CJ's talked a little bit about the sort of the commentators from the other team, from the other club, commentating on the game, and they were talking an awful lot about how we would launch. I think it was Inwood would be launching those big throw-ins, but they really were a little bit sort of puffy. They weren't really, attacking or breaking in a way that, say, for example, when we played Tamworth, the going on about their Tom Tonks throw-ins, which did seem to make a difference. And I think that's going to be the big challenge for us, I think, in these games, whether it's against Braintree or whether it's against Rochdale. It's going to be, turning the ball possession that we know we have into chances. That said, of course, as CJ's pointed out, Warren and Patton are doing very well up front. They're giving players sort of the players behind them options. So it's just about getting in the right place, getting in the right getting the space. But I think really a lot of it, if we can sort of push, not just sort of sit with the ball, but really sort of try to cut through these sides with quick passing, that might make the difference.
So thanks, Guy. Yeah, I did mention there that Scunthorpe's last game was against Boston. It wasn't. It was last night because I saw a clip of Manny Diasaruvi. You need to search it up. It's absolutely bonkers. From my view, it seems like the ref blows halfway through his run up. But yeah, go and check it out. It's a bit weird. But yeah, CJ, I'll come to you for your thoughts on that firstly, because I don't know you might have a better view, and then of the next games coming up for the shots.
Yeah, I've got absolutely no idea what happened there. I've watched it several times. I don't know. I don't know if the ref blew the whistle. I don't know if it came from the crowd. I don't know if Desirue missed the ball on purpose. I have no idea what was going on. Like it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if the keeper came off the line, but the keeper's come out shocked and picked it up, and then the refs just allowed play on. Like the refs just lost control of that whole situation, and I have no idea. I was just looking at it now, and in our next 8 games, we play pretty much every playoff contender. And in the next 6 of the next 8, we've got York, Bournemouth, Forest Green, Carlisle, Rochdale, and Scunthorpe. And then in there we got Braintree and Woking. So you look at it and you go, like form wise, obviously Scunthorpe are a bit obviously that wild game 6-3 with Boston. And then Forest Green are obviously in a bit of a dip of form at the moment, so it'd be nice to turn Robbie Savage over just because he gets upset really fun. That's always enjoyable to watch his post-match interviews when he's upset. Um, and yeah, so like obviously, like you said, York, Carlisle, obviously the hardest ones in there. Rochdale obviously score goals and don't concede. They're the weirdest team in the world. They got a great striker who's just on form at the minute in Desirue. So yeah, like you look at it and you go, Braintree obviously it has to be a must-win. Woking has to be a must-win, and then you try and pick up your points against your Scunthorpes and Forest Greens, who are in a bit of a dip at the moment. And if you can do that, you come out of this game, come out of this run with maybe 7-8 points, and you go, you know what, take that considering this is the sort of run we had before Christmas and we lost every single one, you come out with even if 5-6 points and you go, yeah, take that, move on, especially if it's against teams around us. Because after that, then you got your Morecambes, you got Suttons, Wheelstones, and Gateshead. So that's the run of games we want to get to, where we go right. That's where our season is dictated, really, and we sort of dictate. It's crazy. We can sort of have a real say in the playoff moments, and we can have a real say in the relegation battle as well in the next 10-15 games. So it's a real like crucial stage of the season. I know we sort of said it before Christmas, but like this is the key moment now. Is that this is where our season dictated in the next 15 games. Um, Obviously, hopefully Charlie Warren's back. I know Coleman said he picked up a bit of an injury, so that's why he didn't play against Yeovil. So hopefully he's back, and that'll be a big boost going into this run of fixtures. I'll be slightly concerned if he's not, but again, we're finding ways to get points at the moment. So as long as we can continue doing that into this run of games, then I've got no real fear. If you said this to me 2-3 months ago, I'd be like, God, National League South, hello. But now it's that promising feeling. Coleman, obviously, as we spoke about, has got his feet under the table. The players are playing really with confidence at the moment. There's loads of energy. So, yeah, there's no reason why we can't go and pick up points in this running.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, as you mentioned that because I looked ahead. I knew when I was going to be coming back, and I thought, I tell you what, if we don't win over Christmas and if we don't win in January, that back patch of games is going to really show how bad we are in this league, or compared to our league rivals. And to be honest, yeah, if you take 6 points off us now and put us in 20, 20th or 19th again. I mean, this patch of games just looks dreadful, and every game's a 6-pointer. But now I'm going into it thinking, well, obviously we can beat Scunthorpe, and obviously we can beat Rochdale. I've not got no qualms. We can stop DS Ruby. We've got Will Nightingale. This is what confidence breeds. Because as you said 2 months ago, this was not even a conversation. Yes, we might have been joking about the playoffs if we won a game, but it was it was real disaster stations back then. And now I'm actually looking forward to Scunthorpe at home, which I didn't think I would be. I'm just excited to see a confident Aldershot team who may well, might not come out on top on the day, but I know they're gonna, I know they're gonna try their best. I know that we've got a system that will get us points, and I'm pretty well confident at this stage that it's going to keep us in the division.
The next few games, we got 5 home fixtures as well, which is massive against these big clubs. Because I can't remember who it was that said it. I think it was the Halifax manager, and he said that the 12th man with the East Bank makes a huge difference. So hopefully that plays a key factor in these games as well.
Yes, yeah, he did mention that. Yeah, go and watch that interview if you haven't. It's brilliant post match, and also Southend still to be rearranged and put in there sometime in April, we believe. So that's another home game where we're going to get 3 points. Guy?
Can I just also say, talking about Dias Aruve, he is on fire, as you say, but he seems to be scoring most of the goals for Rochdale at the moment. So, because he's got 16, and I think the next player after him is Rodney East or someone with about 6.
Yeah.
So if we
And he
can
only scores
nullify,
against Aldershot as well. That's the thing.
well,